Over the course of my life, I have performed on many stages and played many roles. One of the major parts I have played was that of martial artist when I studied and achieved my black belt in Isshin-ryu karate. This discipline, along with Taekwondo and Kempo, was part of my life for about 20 years. During this time, I also became interested in the philosophical underpinnings for Eastern thought, and one of my favorite philosophers was Alan Watts. Alan Watts was a British philosopher famous for interpreting the Eastern religions for a Western audience. As a self-described rascal, Watts did not follow strict dogma, but rather picked and chose the concepts that made sense to him. And this approach, while angering the purist, greatly appealed to me. You can still find many of Watts' lectures on YouTube and across the internet, and the other day I was watching a video in which he talked about searching for the Golden Goodie. What Alan Watts was referring to is the concept that many of our Western religions and our society in general has long postulated. That is, that life is something that we need to endure and suffer through so that when we pass on, attain enlightenment, or achieve status, we will be given this ultimate prize. This golden goodie can take many forms, such as enlightenment, holiness, personal fulfillment, or happiness. But regardless of what we call it, common dogma tells us this ultimate goal can only be achieved after a lifetime of strict adherence to the process. The problem with this way of thinking is that the process in and of itself never leads to the desired outcome. Watts would put it like this when talking about enlightenment. Enlightenment remains unrealized so long as it is considered as a specific state to be attained, and for which there are standards of success. In other words, all of these states, enlightenment, happiness, or fulfillment, are not things that can be attained or given. Rather, they are byproducts of the way we live our lives. Of course, most of us are not seeking nirvana or a state of enlightenment. Rather, we are just simple folks trying to make it through life the best we can. Still, there is a great lesson that can be learned from what Watts is trying to tell us. I have told the story many times of how, after many years of being unhappy and chasing after the never-ending dream of monetary success, I decided to change the way I thought. In my mind, once I achieved the success I was striving for, I could then do the things I really wanted in life, which was to travel and see our amazing world. Before I flipped this mental switch, I looked at myself from a place of lack. In my mind, I always lacked the time, the means, and the support that would enable me to do the things I truly wanted in life. There was always something else that needed to be accomplished, always another step in the process. Of course, this pessimistic viewpoint was untrue, but unfortunately it seems to be part of the human condition. It is so much easier to see things we don't have than focus on what we do. While I don't expect the world as a whole to ever change, we can certainly change how we as individuals approach the process of life. Rather than list all the reasons we cannot do something, we can take stock of the tools, talents, and people that will help us to achieve our goals. Sure, there will be compromises along the way, but rather than sit around waiting for the time to be right, we can start our journey with that single proverbial step. I certainly do not consider myself to be enlightened, and I know that I will never truly figure things out, but I now realize that the grand prize of life is not a thing that is found at the end of a rainbow or presented to us after a lifetime of sacrifice and suffering. The real golden goodie is your life. It'll be over before you know it. Live it now. Ride safe, my friends.